Today we'll be going over Certara's integral data repository. As Sebastian already mentioned, these are some of the logistics for today's webinar. And if you have any questions, we do have a Q&A session that'll be at the end. So just to kind of give you a little introduction for myself, my name is Michael Clifton. I'm the product owner for Integral. I've been with Certara since 2020, and before that I was a PK scientist in the CRO field. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. So Certara's Integral. The Integral repository is a cloud-native, validated 21 CFR Part 11 compliant data repository with an intuitive user interface for collecting, managing, sharing, and storing multiple types of data sets for analysis. Working with Phoenix, we can utilize NCA, toxicokinetic modeling, and PK/PD modeling that comes with Phoenix when on LIN, and the storage capabilities of Integral to give you a streamlined and secured workflow that allows the user to connect, capture, visualize, and analyze data anytime, anywhere, while ensuring compliance guidelines are met. In addition to this, for the 23.10.1 release that we have coming up, we'll be offering the ability for users to perform exploratory analyses that don't require compliance, while still utilizing that streamlined workflow between Phoenix and Integral. This will be, like I said before, this will be available in 23.10.1, which will be coming out towards the end of October, start of November. So in addition to that, new feature that we have where users can, perform exploratory analyses, the Integral benefits, a wide range of users, particularly biostatisticians, pharmacometricians, PK scientists, and your clinical pharmacologists and data managers. Now, what are some of the key customer benefits in using Integral? Well, first off, you can make informed decisions based on the data that you have stored within Integral, because that's going to be your one source of truth, right? It improves operational workflows between different users in your company, such as PK scientists, biostatisticians, and your clinical or lab teams. You can collaborate with third-party users such as consultants and CROs. And since Integral is your one source of truth that ensures your data are reproducible, traceable, and secure. Integral also removes the burden of IT from your company. They don't need to set everything up. We handle that on our end for your use of Integral. And Integral also provides a framework to enable compliance at the study level. So what are the key capabilities within Integral? So just to name a few, it's a cloud native solution, so you can work in many computing environments. It's tightly integrated with Phoenix and supports SSO authentication for your company. We use role-based access control, which allows us to control security permissions for users through licenses and security groups. For 23.10.1 release, we'll be introducing two new licenses, limited license user and limited partner. I'll go over those later in the demo. We can configure and automate both custom folder structures and custom metadata for your studies. That'll help harmonize your storage and workflow. In addition to that, like I said before, we support 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, which includes version control, audit tracking, traceability, and the use of e-signatures. Like I mentioned before, we now support both GXP and non-GXP studies, all within the same repository. I'll also go over that in the demo here in a little bit. We also have the use of data dependencies, which includes notifying users when their analyses or linked copies of files become out of date due to updates to these specific dependencies that you set. And finally, Integral, it's a centralized data repository. It's a single source of truths, and that helps with managing data for studies, as well as facilitate the QC review process. So this next slide here, it depicts the different users and how they would access Integral. Both the Phoenix hosted and Phoenix desktop users can access Integral either through the Phoenix Integral plugin or through their web browser, such as Chrome, Edge, or Firefox. Users who don't use Phoenix can still access Integral through their web browser, but they can also use a client app, which allows the users to bring studies down to their local environment, continue their work there, and then sync their updated results back to Integral. So this slide is basically kind of lays out what the demo is going to show you. We'll go over creating a compliance study, uploading data, performing analysis, what happens if that data gets updated, and then touching on some of the non-GXP features that we put into the 2010-1 release. So from there on, I'm going to switch to my Phoenix install here, and as you can see here, I have the Integral browser open within my Phoenix. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And with my SSO credentials set up, you can see it's already set up for me. I don't need to enter my credentials. It knows who I am, and I can go ahead and access my study folders. So first thing we're going to want to do is, I want to create a study for I want to create a study folder so I can, perform an analysis. So first step I would do here is I would create a root folder. In this particular example, I want to create a study. So I'll just go ahead and create my study demo folder for today. Now you can see here a study folder is kind of populated with certain metadata that the user can fill in. For example, this study might be for a certain sponsor that I'm working with, so I'll enter that information as well as maybe the compound name that's being used. So I might enter in Certara as an example of some sort of compound that I'm using. And then is this a clinical, preclinical, or an ADME study? I can choose one of those. This is also very modifiable and can be changed, per your company's specific workflow when it comes to certain studies. One of the key things here, and one of the new features that we have, is we can basically decide if we want this study to either require e-signatures or not require e-signatures, and that will kind of determine the compliance for the folder. So you can see for this example, I want my e-signatures enabled, but I could choose disabled if I want to. For today's demo though, for this first part at least, I'm just gonna select enabled. So once I have all my information filled out, I'll click apply. And as you can see here, let me maximize this window. So here's my new study folder, and you can see here it has a shield with a check mark next to it. That means that this folder requires e-signatures as well as all of the subfolders and files within it. So any changes to data content within this folder will require the user to enter a reason and an e-signature. And as you can see, for some of these other ones, they don't have a shield, which means they don't require an e-signature. And I'll demonstrate that here in a little bit. But first, let's just go through, I'm a typical PK scientist. I've got my study folder created. Now I need to upload my data. So I'll just go here and upload. So I can either drag and drop the files that I have for my analysis, or I can click in here and go to the folder in question. So you can see here I want to bring in my source and analysis tools. That analysis tools is a template I have for my Phoenix project. And then the Clayton file is my source concentration time data that came from the lab. So I'll go ahead and upload that. And you can see here, since this is a compliant folder, it requires a reason and me to enter my credentials. So I'll go ahead and enter data for analysis. And there you go. I have both of my files uploaded, and you can see here, this is revision 1 of my data file. And we have a history tab here that'll kind of give you the audit history of the file and what's happened to it. So you can see here for revision 1, I uploaded the file, and you can see my reason entered here. So now I have the files I need for my analysis. Now I need to create the analysis. So I'm going to go to my analyses folder and select this option here called Add Save Point. So what that does is it's going to create an analysis save point that is like a snapshot of an analysis in time. It's going to capture what my dependencies are and what my results are for that particular analysis at that moment. So let me just give it a name. I'm going to call it analysis test 1. And I'm going to select my source files here. These are the files I want to bring into my Phoenix project. So once I do that, I'll click submit. And you can see here it's starting to load the project and the files into or create the project and then load the files into the project. So I'll go ahead and complete this. Okay, I'm going to minimize the browser. And so you can see here now within Phoenix, I have this Phoenix project created that is now linked to Integral. And you can tell that by the icon here with the Phoenix. You can see it brought in my data set and it brought in my template. So now what I'm going to do is just quickly run through this workflow template that I have, which will basically perform my analysis. I'm generating NCA results as well as plots and tables for my concentrations and PK parameters, as well as a report. So we'll just let this run. Okay, so there's my analysis. I completed it. I've got all the results I need, and now I need to save these back to Integral. So what I'll do next is I'll go to the Integral menu up at the top, and I'll select Save. Now this screen here will allow the user to review the metadata information that they might have associated with this particular analysis. That's what we're looking at right now. This next part here is called Save Options. This is where we'll get to choose what results we want to bring from our project into Integral. And I have some default settings here that Phoenix has set up where the users can set up some default settings when it comes to which results you want selected for your save options. So you can see here all of these have already been selected, as well as determine what file format they should be when I bring these results in to Integral. So there's also a dependency tab here just to kind of remind the user these are the files that I have set as dependencies for this analysis. So anytime these files become out of date, it'll cause the analysis to also become out of date. So I'll show that here in a little bit. But first, let's finish saving my results. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and lock this save point analysis if I don't want any other users to modify it in the future, but I don't want that in this particular case, I can also set a status. So for this particular example, I just want to mark the status of this analysis as draft. So I'll go ahead and click finish and then enter my reasons. And then I'll enter in my credentials here. Okay, so what this is doing is it is taking the project file that I created and those save option results that I selected and is importing those into Integral and creating that save point analysis, that analysis snapshot in time. Once this finishes, I'll navigate to Integral and then show you what that looks like. All right, well, I get a message saying that my project was successfully saved. So I'll click OK. I'll go back to my browser. I'll click refresh here. I'll go to this folder. And as you can see, I now have all of my results from my analysis saved. And I could, if I wanted to, click through each of these results and view the contents if they're a file type where we support viewing of the content. In 23.10.1, we will be able to support viewing content of docx and doc and RTF files. So you can see here, I can just scroll through the report that I've created, and I can see all the plots and tables that I generated, as well as I can go through and click through each of these individual plots. As well as look at the core output for my results. And then if I need to verify anything in the history, I can just navigate to the history of the save point, and you can see here we have an event that shows that I saved my analysis. And then we have a save point captured here in the audit trail that shows that this study is up to date, or this analysis is up to date, and will also provide me a list of my dependency files as well as my results. Okay, so there's generating an analysis and saving it to Integral. But what happens if the lab sends me an updated version of my Clayton file? What can I do here, right? So I need to upload a new revision of this file. So I'll click the ellipsis menu here, select upload new revision, and then I'll select the version 2 of my file that I have here. And it'll ask me if I want to upload this as a new revision. I do. And then I'll enter my reason and credentials. Okay, so I updated my file here, and as we can see, it is now revision 2, and you can see my reason that was captured for that. But what exactly changed between that version 1 and version 2? We have an option here called compare, where if I click on the compare, you can see here that it will highlight the row where the update occurred in my CSV file here, and it also will highlight the change that occurred. So you can see here in version 1, the value was 0.1. In version 2, it's now just 0. Now you might also notice that, hey, the folder went red. What does that mean? So let me go back to the home page here. So this is where I was talking about that dependency capability. So that Clayton file was updated. It was associated with that analysis. So since that's the case, my analysis is now out of date. And so the folder returned red. And then I can drill down even further to which specific analysis it was that was out of date. And I can see here, oh, this is the analysis that was out of date. So what do you do then? Well, first, let me just close this project file. So we don't need to save this locally unless you want to. That project file is now within Integral, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that project. So say you did that, close your project, you went away, and then you came back and you saw within Integral that the analysis needs to be updated because it's now out of date. So what can you do? There's an option here for the analysis where I can select load save point. Once I select that, it'll load that project file into Phoenix, but it'll also check to see if any of your dependencies are out of date. And that's what this message is about. So it's letting me know that the save point's out of date and it wants to retrieve the latest version of my source files. So I'll select yes. And as you can see, it's trying to pull in that revision 2 of Clayton. So I'll go ahead and click finish. And as you can see, it brought in that file. This was the value that was updated. It went from 0.1 to 0. And then you can see here that also my workflow is out of date within Phoenix. So now I just need to rerun my workflow and then save this back to Integral. So we'll let this briefly go through this update, and then we'll save it back. All right, I've updated that, and now I need to save my results back to Integral again. As you can see, it still has my selected results here. Not only that, but it'll also remember my results from the previous save that I did. So now for this particular example, I might say, okay, I reviewed the data that I had, and I've approved this analysis. So this analysis should be good now. So I'll click finish, and then just enter my reason and credentials. So now we'll just let this go through and complete the save. Now, once this finishes saving back to Integral, we should see an update now to the color of the folder, which will indicate that the analysis is now up to date. All right, my project successfully saved. I'll go back, I'll click refresh. And as you can see, the folder is no longer red, and this analysis is now up to date. And you can see that the analysis itself also has a revision number. So you can see here, it's now revision 2. I can also see in the events, I updated my analysis, and then I actually have 2 save points here. I have the original one that was out of date, and now I have the updated version, which if we look at the dependencies, we can see I'm now using revision 2 of my Clayton file. Not only that, but we can also go through and see that my files, the results that I generated, some of these are now revision 2, while others are still revision 1. And that's because, based off of the data that I updated, some of these files didn't need to be updated in this next revision of the analysis. But what I can do is, so let's take a look at the core output. So that is revision 2. So if I go to the core output, I can see this was updated, but what exactly changed? I can do the same thing as before with the compare. And we can see here, we can highlight the rows of what exactly changed. And you can see here that for the data itself, it really only was changed for this one subject. And then everything else, it's just an update to the date timestamp. So that's a typical analysis, compliant analysis within Integral. But let's say that our results, weren't favorable. We determined that this is going to be a study that maybe we don't want to, we can't submit it to the FDA because it failed, and we need to go back and do some more exploratory work on this particular study with the data that we do have. If that's the case, and you are for certain know that this study is not going to be submitted at all to the FDA, then what you could do is you can choose to actually disable e-signatures for this folder. So keep in mind, once you do this though, there is no going back. You can't re-enable e-signatures for this folder. Once they've been disabled, it is now a non-compliant folder. So I'll just briefly show you how that's done. There's a menu option here called Disable e-signatures at the study level. Only myself as a folder owner or an administrator can perform this action. So, and this will actually require you to enter one last reason. So you can, explain maybe, why you're disabling the e-signatures. This study failed and will no longer be submitted to the FDA. They'll use for exploratory work. So I enter my reason, and then same steps as before. And as you could tell, the folder icon updated where it's now just a folder. And now I could make modifications within this folder that will not require an e-signature. So let's say I make another change to my Clayton file. In this particular example, I might want to, just briefly change one of the values here within the contents. For the CS file, you have that ability to do that. So I'll actually click into this cell here. I'll change it to 2. Click enter, and then select update. Click OK. And that's it. Didn't require an e-signature. We can see here that this did become updated to revision 3. And if we look at the audit, we still have that auditing capability. So we can still track the changes, but now this just doesn't require the user to enter a reason and e-signature credentials. And as for the reason being provided here, since that is now the case that the user won't provide a reason, we have system generated reasons that'll be filled in. So you can see for this one, it just mentions that the system file content updated. And not only that, since I did update that claim file, you can see it, we still retain that capability of dependencies, and it shows that, my analysis is out of date. So I can pull that in to Phoenix again and update that analysis just like before, although it just won't require a reason or an e-signature to be entered. And just to kind of highlight that, when it comes to these studies, we have this e-signature required metadata that's being captured. So you can see for this particular example, the e-signature required is set to false. That's what happened when I disabled the e-signature. If it was a compliant study, it would say e-signature required is set to true. So if you have many of these folders within the system, you might want to see if you can organize them in some way, just to make it, easier for the user to find these particular types of folders. So we have two updates that we've done here. One was within the filter, so you can now filter by this e-signature required metadata. So let's say I selected true and I click apply. You can see here it's only bringing up the compliant folders where e-signature is set to true. I could set it the other way as well, set it to false, and then you have, all of the exploratory analysis folders here. So that's the update that we did for the filter to be able to use this metadata. But we also updated our folder grouping feature that allows the users to have a custom view of their folders based off of particular metadata. In this particular example, we can now use the e-signature required metadata. So I'll select that and click apply. And you can now see that the folders are now grouped by whether e-signature is required or not. So you can see for true, we have these underneath here. And then for false, we have these. So those are the updates that we did for utilizing this this new e-signature property that we captured. So in addition to that, for this 23.10.1 release, we also have the ability to create security groups that use this e-signature metadata. But not only that, we also have new licenses available, two new licenses actually. One's called limited license user and limited partner. So let me just remove this user here from that. So you can see that limited license user and limited partner. So these two new licenses are equivalent to the full license user and the partner, similar permissions. The only difference, at least for now, is that a limited license or limited partner user will only have write access to folders where the e-signatures were set to false, where the e-signatures were disabled. So that would be those exploratory folders that we were mentioning. So if you have a particular group of users that are only doing exploratory work, then these would be the licenses you would assign to them. Now, if they still need to view data from a compliant folder, they can still be given read access to compliant study folders, but they would not be able to change any of the data within those folders. Like I said, write access would only be limited to the e-signature disabled folders, these exploratory folders. And those are the updates that we have for 23.10.1, as well as a your typical demonstration of how PK scientists might utilize Integral and Phoenix together. Sebastian, I guess at this point now we'll go to the Q&A. Yes. Do we have any questions right now in the chat?
We do. Thank you, Michael, for that presentation. Very insightful. And we do have a few questions already. As a reminder, please feel free to submit what you want to know from Michael, and I will read it out to him so we can answer. So let's start with the first question that came through, and the question is, do you have to upload a Phoenix template in order to open launch Phoenix to run analysis? Or can we just upload data only?
No, you don't have to use a Phoenix template. You can just upload regular concentration data or any data really. It doesn't require you to have a template workflow.
All right. Quick answer. Thank you. Next question that came through. Can data in files be deleted in Integral? For example, for outdated analysis that should no longer be referenced to.
Yes, so files can be deleted, but we do have the capability of restoring those deleted files and folders if that was requested by the customer. So we do capture that within Integral when a file was deleted, and if you do, if you needed to, see that deleted file, you also would have the capability to download that, or if we need to, you could reach out to our support and we could look at possibly, recovering the deleted file if it was deleted by mistake.
All right, thanks. And the last question that I see here in the chat is, what are the out-of-the-box prepared roles that are available in the solution?
Yeah, so the first role or license that we have is administrator. So the administrator is going to be, in charge of setting up your custom folder structures and metadata, as well as doing onboarding for the security, assigning roles and licenses to users, as well as assigning them to security groups and setting up those security groups. So that's the administrator, and then you have the full license user role, which is going to be mostly for your typical PK scientist or general user that needs to be able to modify a lot of things with their study folder, uploading data, deleting data, creating analyses, modifying analyses, all of that. And there's a wide range of permissions that are allowed within that folder for the full license user. We have a partner license, which has similar permissions to a full license user. However, they are not able to create study folders. The partner license is more something you might assign to a consultant, or maybe some other company that you're working with that maybe they should only have access to a particular folder and do their analysis there. So that's what a partner would do. We also have a QA license for your, any of your QA auditors that would need to only have read access to all of the studies within Integral. And then we have an archivist who is very similar to a QA reviewer, although they would be involved with making sure the studies have been archived and locked properly, and if something needs to be unlocked, they also have that capability. And then there are the two new licenses that I mentioned, limited license user and then limited partner, which are limited to write access for only study folders where the e-signature has been disabled.
All right, excellent, thanks. I see one more question that came through. Actually, it's two questions, and it refers to the first one regarding the upload of Phoenix templates. And the question is, when you upload an updated data set, does the new data set have to use the same file name as the original one? That's the first question. Yeah, please go ahead and answer, then I can read out.
Sure, yeah, so it doesn't. It doesn't have to use the same name. As you could see in the demo that I had here, the different file that I used, it was called Clayton_V2. So it doesn't have to be the same file name. What matters most is the data structure and content of that file, and using that upload new revision option that's in the ellipsis menu.
All right. And related to that, the question is, second question is, if the name is different, how can we tell which version uses which data file?
That can be confirmed, I believe, through the audit tracking. I'd have to get back to you on that, but that should be captured somewhere within the audit. I'll have to check with our development team on that though. But you can at least verify that with that other version, you can compare the versions, so you can see, you know, what changes occurred between the two, where that can help.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. Great question, though. All right. It seems that we don't have any more questions from the audience, and with that, I think we can wrap it up for today. Again, as Michael said, if you have further questions, please reach out, and the team is happy to answer all your requests. Again, also, as I said before, we will send you the recording of that webinar in the next few days. Feel free to rewatch it. Feel free to share it internally. And yeah, again, of course, feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions. So with that, Michael, thank you for that presentation. And thank you to the audience for that interactive session. Have a good day and take care. Bye.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.